This is the Die Hawks Nintendo 64 console, and man, doesn't it look awesome. So, what is the Die? And I'm definitely pronouncing that wrong. What is the Die Hawks console and controller? Well, this console was released exclusively in Japan. This didn't come out in North America, Europe, or Australia. And it was only sold in Die stores. And it was made to support the Die baseball team, I believe, the Die Hawks, which is where this console gets its name. And of course, it came with the Die controller. This is not actually called the Die Hawks controller, just the Die controller, which I found a bit odd. But apparently this is not made to support the team, just, the console itself. Now, why this is cool is that this has a color that isn't used, obviously, in any other system. It's orange on the top, but flip it around, and it's black. Now, the black is not really translucent, it's a solid black. But here, on the top, it is a translucent orange. And that is almost the same with the controller. The interesting thing about the controller is that on the back, the black is a lot more translucent. It's not only showing up on the camera, but you can see through to the orange on the other side, which is not something you can see on the console. So, why is this so rare? Well, no, I couldn't really find out. See, Googling this sort of thing is very difficult. Googling in anything related to Die Hawks will lead you to about 3 pages of just eBay and, ooh, look how rare this is, sort of things. But I figured that the fact that this was only sold in selective stores is the main reason why this wouldn't have caught on so much. Not to mention, this is to promote a specific baseball team. So, of course, it was sold in Die stores, which means that everyone around that area would want to get it to support the team. But anyone who didn't really support baseball probably wouldn't have gotten this, and anyone who supported a team that was not the Hawks also probably would not have gone for this. If I was a kid in Japan, I probably would have only gone for this because it's one of my favorite colors, orange and black. But I would not have gotten it for the baseball thing. I'm not a big sports fan, and a lot of kids in Japan who were probably playing these things were probably not big baseball fans either. And any kids who got Nintendo 64 probably got the standard black or one of the solid colored ones. Or, since, Pokemon was big at the time, especially in Japan and Europe, the Pikachu series or the Pokemon Stadium series of Nintendo 64s were probably a lot more popular as well. But that's a little history on the Die Hawks. Just a quick little thing and a quick look at this cool controller, but also console. But before we wrap this up, I do want to show you how you can spot a fake one. A fake Die Hawks could be made pretty easily by taking the top half of an orange Nintendo 64 and the bottom half of a smoke black console. But this is pretty easy to spot if they are just using parts from other shells. Now, here I have the Fire Red Nintendo 64. Fire Red? Fire Orange Nintendo 64. This is just the solid orange colored Nintendo 64. Now, if we put these two side by side, you'll notice some things. You'll notice that the Die Hawks is a slightly darker color than the original Fire Orange. It doesn't really show up as well on camera, but when you look at it side by side, that's a bit better. If you look at it side by side, to the naked eye, it's very clear that that is a sharper shade of orange. Not to mention that this slot here is grey, whereas on the orange console, it is just also straight up orange. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a Smoke Black controller. I keep saying controller when I mean console. I don't have a Smoke Black console to show you, but you can be assured that the black on that is a lot lighter than this. This sort of black was only released for the Diahawks, and even the charcoal grey controller, again, even the charcoal grey console doesn't come anywhere near this level of black. But there's a third way you can tell if this is real or fake. Now, if they're using a charcoal black console to make the bottom, or a smoke black console to make the bottom, a lot of the time they won't bother trying to track down a Japanese one, and they will just use the European or American one, which means that the writing on the back here will not be in Japanese. But on the Diahawks, since it was released in Japan, obviously all the writing is going to be in Japanese, apart from, of course, the logo Nintendo 64. So that is how you can tell the difference between a Diahawks and a created one using one of these or a Smoke Black controller console. But anyway, this is a cool little thing. I really like it. I'm really happy I got it. And a really cool thing is that I got a game with it, Harvest Moon. It's really easy to just plug up the AV cables, which, another little interesting tidbit, this didn't come with AV cables, apparently. You had to buy them separately, which is a bit interesting. But, of course, you know, I've got like 8 of them because I collect Nintendo 64, so obviously that's not an issue for me. But, you know, would have been a bit of a bother if you're buying this for your kid as a Christmas present and they unwrap it and unbox it, and then you realize you can't hook it up to the TV. Probably spoiled a couple of Christmases having to wait until Boxing Day or the day after to, you know, actually buy the AV cables if you forgot. But hey, you know, it's a minor thing, and probably costs very cheap, and you can obviously get it from the same store that you bought the console from. And the really cool thing is that you can just take a power pack straight from any PAL Nintendo 64 that was released in Europe or Australia, which I have done. You just slap it into the back, play it on your PAL TV, and it works perfectly fine. I was able to get it running just by plugging in an Australian power pack, and I was playing some Harvest Moon within 5 minutes of getting it. So there you go. That's the Diahawks console and controller. A very cool looking thing, and I can't wait to show you guys some other rare stuff from Nintendo 64. I've got one other really cool thing coming in the mail, and I'm really excited for it. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Okay, so a little extra thing here. I've taken off the packs to both the Diahawks and the Fire Orange console. Now, being able to, obviously you can tell there's a bit of a difference, but putting it into the light actually proves my point a lot more. Once you put it into the light, you can very clearly see that that is a deeper shade of orange, even in the camera here, to this one, which is a very clear orange. And that is the difference between them. So, there you go. If they look identical, then it is most likely a fake. So, I'll get in touch with whoever sold it to you.